after high school, I went overseas. I was with the British national team, and I'll tell you, I got caught up in it first as well. But you know, when you realize what you're doing, you know, out there, it's pretty amazing. And once you recapture your focus, right? So when it came, so we'll talk about the hitting stuff. I think at first, talk about, because I was just watching your swing. You know, you have you don't move very much. You know, there's not even much of a stride. Do you know what I mean?
You're really contact oriented.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna hit the ball out of the ballpark like often, so I really try and get wide and stay balanced, and just I'm not really focusing on too big a load. I'm just trying to see the ball, and you know, naturally my hands and legs are gonna work together and get the barrel to the ball.
So when you're doing that, because I see that when you're almost stride free, what are your focus to? Because you still need to generate power, right? So we're trying to generate power out of our back hip, right? But what's your focus then? So now, when we're trying to create, you know, barrel plane, get on the right barrel plane, and then from there, how do you generate your power? What are your thoughts on that?
So I really try and get wide, stay in my legs, because your legs are really what generates the power. So I really try and stay wide, feel my big muscles like my glutes and my hamstrings and my back hip. And I kind of have a little rhythm with my hands. And my first move is usually really just feeling my back hip, and just hands go down a bit, leg comes down, and then I'm staying loose and just reacting to the pitch. Barrel goes to the baseball.
All right.
That's my focus.
Okay, very good. So when you get into your back hip like that, so when you're in your stance like that, and you're saying I want to stay in my back hip, really important that we try to try not to let the knee get over our back ankle, right? We stay in so that we're staying linear with our power, right? So CJ, why don't you just like throw a pitch? Like if you're gonna throw a pitch, I would love to see your sequence. Right? So when he's landing like 50-50 strong, right? Barrel or knob of the bat pointing at the catcher's feet, creating that great angle above his head, right? From here, where do you go, Jess?
I lead with my lower half.
See that? I love it.
My hands, I really don't even try and feel my hands at all. They're kind of just there for the ride. And my first move is always back hip, comes through, and then naturally your hands are gonna follow. So when my hands are loose, the knob's gonna come through first, which will bring the barrel and create that whipping action from the bat, where I try and meet it out in front.
You said something interesting that I say all the time though, that the barrel and the bat are along for the ride. Right? They're along for the ride. So when we start with our hips, and when our hips are going, as soon as we get our hips going, then our knob and our bat trail, they sort of catch onto that hip, right? They get like, they're almost caught, you know, with a string, and then from here, they want to come for the ride. I don't know if you spend much time on focusing on that and getting on plane, but so like you said, sometimes people just let it come along for the ride, right? So after you get your hips fired, right? And we got our hips fired and we're pushing forward, we're being linear and moving in that direction. Now, as our hip rotates, that bat wants to come through the zone, right? How do we get to that zone is a big thing to me, right? And you just did the movement right there, right? That's actually a high level movement that most people aren't aware of. And when we're trying to get on plane, we're actually trying to snap through. It's almost lines up with our shoulder when we get flat, right? When we get behind the ball in the zone. So my big thing is telling the kids and telling all the athletes that want to get into this, you know, plane of the ball, is to try to get their front elbow above the baseball, right? So that really helps. When you think about that, then this natural action will happen, right? And getting flat to our shoulder and getting behind the baseball, right? So that we spend a longer time in the hitting zone. So our front elbow is like an indicator. I try to use it as an indicator. So when we're here, when we're lined up for the pitch, as soon as it's arrived, we recognize, first thing we do is we do ball recognition, pitch recognition, recognize the pitch, and then our front elbow gets above that baseball. And the reason why that's really important is because that helps them even with pitch height, right? If they realize that the pitch is lower, I don't need to get like this, right? Because I'm trying to hit a high pitch when I get like that. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get a high pitch. But what happens with kids who don't do high T work and work on high pitches is they don't try to get above a baseball or lined up with the baseball, right? They would try to hit this pitch like this, right? You see,
That's when you smack
right? You see what is everybody, the tomahawk, right? Everybody's like, you see that, you know, people trying to hit baseballs instead of really trying to get behind it, because this is a pitch that would be a strike, right? And how many kids work on high tee, and that's the things that we focus on here, you know, is working on pitch plane, getting on pitch plane, so that the barrel spends the longest time in the zone, as much time as possible, right?
It's so important to do like in practice, because if you're even thinking about that a little bit during the game, like when you're in the box, there's no way you're going to be able to recognize the pitch and be able to like barrel it up well, especially when you're facing like high velocities, like 90 plus. So that's why you got to come in here, do your work, and prepare yourself so that when you go into the box, you're just thinking about seeing the ball and putting a good swing on it.
All the work that you put in the cage has to be reaction on the field, right? That's just what it comes down to, especially when it comes to hitting. Especially when it comes to hitting, you have to put your work in the cage. If you don't, then you can't expect results, you know, out in the field for sure. Yeah, but high level hitting and, you know, just getting you back on track is really what we focus on around here at Baseline, with our elite staff, NCAA former athletes, current athletes, you know, who come through here and, you know, and bang baseballs. As we say around here, we smash baseballs around here, right? So focused on really hitting the ball hard.